Today we are joined by photographer and author of the Pretty Cities book series, Siobhan Ferguson.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me on here. I'm delighted to be on.
First up, I'd like to ask you a little bit about your background. You were born and grew up in Galway, am I right?
Yes, yes.
And I guess I'm intrigued to find out what took you from Galway to where you are now in West London and, the leap into content creation and photography.
I guess, yeah, I grew up in Galway and went to school in Athenry. I was one of three children, the middle child. I always felt like I wanted to travel. I was a dreamer. I was always traveling in my mind. And I went to university in Limerick. I had put down on my CAO form business, but actually really quickly, last minute changed it to languages. And that was purely based on the fact that I wanted to go to Paris as the year out placement. I always thought I would end up working in, something with my languages and in Paris. But, fate had different things in store for me. So I ended up moving to London. And it wasn't until I had my children that I sort of discovered sort of my love for photography. And I still struggle to call myself a photographer. It's weird to be introduced as a photographer. I mean, first and foremost, I'm very sensitive to nuances in a city, ambience, things that are special. So I think that's what I like. I think that's why Instagram suited me, because it wasn't looking for a professional photograph. It was, I found that photos that did better were the ones that were sort of very relatable, and therefore I never really thought about how to take the photograph. In the early days, it was just about capturing the atmosphere of those cities.
Your pictures are so evocative of those hidden corners of London, and indeed all of the cities that you've showcased. And I suppose it's that connection, it's that really, I think certainly from your books, it's that connection that people make to those places, or those little moments. You want to walk inside those doors, you want to see what's around that next corner, and I think that's what's really lovely about your pictures.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, that for me was, living in a big, massive city, it's chaotic. I'm always looking for the sort of quieter moments, but I'm also very sensitive to the community side of things and to little villages. Coming from a little village in Ireland, I love that you can have that in, a sprawling city like London. You can find these distinct neighborhoods. And when I started it all, and my first book was very much about carving out a side of London. I mean, when I was so taken aback by when I moved to London, about the softer side, I would have always thought it as like an urban jungle, chaotic, multicultural, everything like that. So I was looking for the softer side to the city, and when I started looking, it was there in abundance. But I've just finished a second book on London, and that has probably been the favorite project I've done, because again, it was like, I wasn't sure how the city would reveal itself, and it's it's beautiful. It's really is beautiful. It's beautiful.
I've had this book in my home for years, and I love it. And it was really lovely to revisit it ahead of chatting with you today, and so to know that there's another one coming out. It's exciting.
Yes.
And so one of the reasons, Siobhan, we're chatting to you today is, and you've just been at Chealsea Flower Show for 2025. You were there for their press days, and so got a really good look around the place while it was empty, quiet, not too many people milling around, I imagine.
Yes, yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you saw this year?
Yeah, I've been very lucky to be going. I think it's probably my 10th press day, and it's certainly quieter. But I do always go every year. For the last 5 years, I've tried to go an additional day on top of that, whether it's with a brand or by myself buying a ticket, because I also love the atmosphere that Chealsea Flower Show brings. So it's not just about, I mean, it's very much about the show gardens and everything, but I love the type of photographer I am. It lends itself to the atmosphere that Chealsea Flower Show creates. And yeah, so over the years, I've seen changes. I think this year has been another fantastic year. I mean, in general, the weather has been really good for 2025. So I think that's had a really positive impact on a lot of the planting and the show gardens, and even in the pavilion, the roses, I've never seen them, so lush. I think over the last couple of years, I've seen where not all of them, but there's certainly a couple where you would say, actually, I think with a little help, I could probably recreate aspects of that. And I think that for me has been the best change of the Chealsea Flower Show. You still want it to be, it is an absolute spectacle, and you want it to be absolutely beautiful in every corner. But it is lovely to think, gosh, to feel inspired by aspects.
Can you talk us through some of the show gardens from this year, things that stood out to you?
I always tell people to start, because it's such a sprawling show, to start with the show gardens. And I always I kind of close my eyes until I get to the start of them, and then the thing begins for me. But if I was to pick two or three, I would go with definitely Jo Thompson's garden, the planting. And that was one where I thought, I could definitely, I'd love her to come to my garden, but I could definitely pick bits from it. And it was the incredible planting, her colour palette, and the pavilion at the back. She had a stream going around the pavilion. Everything about it was beautiful. After that, I loved the Keeley garden, which was very Mediterranean in its, and I guess that's a lot to do with global warming, and that we're a lot of gravel, the colours and the furniture used in it. And again, I would absolutely love to take lots of that one home. The Boodles garden was one I really admired. I loved the details. There was a pergola with raindrops coming down. How that was designed was incredible. It wasn't one I would imagine in my own house, but I admired it for everything that it, how it was created, and all the beauty it stood for. So that was another one. I mean, they were all phenomenal.
As I leafed through your photographs when you sent them through for the first time too, I couldn't believe it. It's the British Red Cross garden, Rare Humanity garden. I thought, have I misseen that? It looked like the Giant's Causeway here in Northern Ireland. And as I read a little bit more about it, they had been inspired. They'd visited the Giant's Causeway, and had recreated these kind of gorgeous hexagonal stones with lovely alpine kind of planting. And I just, really, I guess having grown up so close to that particular place, I was like, wow, there it is. And did you feel, Siobhan, this year that there were new elements to the show that you maybe hadn't seen before, or anything new kind of coming through trend-wise, I guess?
Well, I loved the trade stands that were running alongside a lot of the show gardens. As you come in along the show garden pathway, to the left there was a gorgeous, I don't know if you know the brand Dalesford and Bamford, their product. So they had an absolutely gorgeous stand, and they had it complete with bath, and on the outside there was a gorgeous table setting and seated area, and the planting was beautiful, high daisies, and that was, very much keeping obviously with their brand, which is very earthy and absolutely beautiful. Lots of plant pots.
I noticed there was loads of new. I was listening to different horticulturalists talking about new plant species coming through. New things that they've developed. One of the things that stood out to me, and I wondered whether it was one of the roses that you'd photographed on the day, was the King Charles III rose. Apparently a new rose that has come out, a camellia. Well, it's a rose, but it looks a lot like a camellia.
Yes, or like a sweet almost with its stripes. And I think it's absolutely beautiful. And the Highgrove stand was in collaboration with Burberry. That was absolutely beautiful.
It loads of beautifully illustrated silk scarves that you'd photographed.
Yes. Oh my God! As you could have every detail in there was incredible. Every corner, the rose was absolutely beautiful, and everybody was making a beeline for it. And actually, I don't know why, but the stripe in the rose was very much the thing I was seeing across the trade stands. With a beautiful stand called Tuca, which is a homewares, and really I chatted to the owner for a while as well. Incredible lady. Stripes are her things across candlesticks, fruit bowls. Oh, it was incredible. So they were
the most amazing planter. You had it in one of your photographs. Oversized planter, all planted with was it foxgloves and lupins and wild flowers? It looks
and just her use of colour was beautiful, and it was sort of in keeping with, or maybe it's just the colour I like, but it was sort of the colours of the gardens I was drawn to, those sort of blush pinks and apricots, and they're very much earthy, soft earthy pastels, if that makes sense. But I was definitely drawn to them. And there was also a fabulous another stand, which was they their speciality were rugs and blankets. And you might be able to see this one there,
That's
which
lovely.
I bought on the Tuesday and completely forgot I bought it. And it arrived yesterday, which is, and they were called So Cozy, and they're beautiful, beautiful rugs. So yeah, there's something for every aspect of the home across the whole show. So it is really incredibly inspiring.
Can you tell us just a little bit about the kitchen that we're seeing behind you? I've just been peeking over your shoulder, and I'm sure everybody else has been. Can you talk to us about some of the details, how you've styled it, kind of what you wanted to achieve when you were reworking your kitchen?
The kitchen, I did have help from a fabulous interior designer for the kitchen. I was very, obviously, like so many, inspired by Instagram as well, looking through pages. So I definitely wanted it not to be top heavy with cupboards. So you can see I have
Yeah.
an open shelf. So yeah, it's a very, we're a year back, it's a year since we've moved back in, and it's very lived in now. That's probably the tidiest corner of the house, but we're very happy here.
Well, it looks stunning. It looks stunning from what I can see. Finally, Siobhan, what is next for Pretty Cities? You mentioned earlier about the new book coming out in the autumn. Where else would you like to travel? Where else would you like to photograph if we gave you a blank canvas and an empty checkbook?
Yeah, well, the empty checkbook would be handy. But I am very lucky to be working on probably the best city of all, and I might die doing it. I'm working on Rome, so I'm actually going
Wow.
next June 25th. I'm going back to Rome. I've only been there once before, which was last September, and the publisher agreed to make it logistically smaller because I think it's just having been there once, it packs so much. It packs a punch with history and beauty, and it's going to be a very difficult one to narrow down. But I'm very excited to do it. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us, for sharing all of your beautiful imagery from Chelsea from this year, and inviting us into your kitchen this morning.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much
so
for
much.
having me. It's been lovely to chat.